Alright guys, what's growing on? So getting you another follow-up with Jim. Back here finally about end of January. I think today's like actually January 26th. We just had a video come up with Jim. This one will probably be out in about 2 weeks. But I can tell you that Jim's doing a lot of new stuff this year. He's farming outside the wall. He's expanded over there in front of the fence. He's got probably 5-pound heads of broccoli around here. He's doing really well this year at market too. So, you know, just to give you a little context, I would say that, you know, wintertime markets here in Florida for Jim, for peak market, probably about 20 weeks. Even though when he comes down from Maine, you know, he's a nomadic farmer, farming half the year in Maine, half the year in Florida. He brings some things with him, sometimes squash, sometimes blueberries, sometimes garlic, onions, all different types of stuff he'll bring down from Maine. He gets here, he harvests sweet potato, harvests turmeric, so he has some things to bring at the market at the beginning. What I'm getting at is there's always a small revenue stream, but it's not always at the peak it has been these last few weeks. So right now, Jim's averaging about $2,000 a week farming his front yard and mom's front yard on his own. You know, this is about a total of a half an acre. Last week he told me he put about 65 hours in out here, you know, and 65 hours is in between starting seeds, planting seedlings, harvesting, going to market, you know, the whole 9 yards. So that is an entire week of work. And it's not really quite work when you love what you're doing, when you're passionate about it, when you believe in it. You know, he's getting a workout. He's, you know, he's staying healthy, and he's working. You know, and he's meeting people. He loves that interaction of bringing the produce to market. So, you know, I hear a lot of people say, "This is work. I'll stick to my desk job." But I guess it depends on what you look at work as. To me, I can't imagine, you know, that box life, box car, box job, box lunch. You know, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work for everybody. And I've noticed a lot of people rethinking what they do for a living now, especially ever since COVID. So I think what Jim is doing, you know, this is viable. You know, a lot of people can do this, and, you know, being in the right area, having the right market is definitely key. But, you know, there's a lot of hope for farming, the future of this, making a living doing this. So this is why we have a masterclass of Jim. You know, this is why I'm always over here making videos. I'm trying to give you guys this message, trying to give you guys the tools. Got tons of free information out there. You can do this on your own. So let's go find Jim. Let's see what's growing on. Let's see what's ripening. Let's see what he's bringing to market. Hold tight. So a question I always get in Jim videos, we have a police station right over there on that side, just to the east, but he's right here on the street. And, you know, since I've been here, I think one car has driven by. There's, you know, 25 foot here between the wall and the street, a good easement. So a lot of people talk about the car pollution and, you know, isn't he farming right on the street? It's not a busy road. This is a slow, you know, very slow traffic over here, small suburban area. Maybe, you know, you could count probably on hands and feet how many cars go by in a day. So it's not like there's a ton of traffic. It's not like he's living right on the highway, even though he is farming in the front yard. Jim, I used to be able to just jump over this wall. What happened?
I planted some flowers out front. Morning, Pete.
What are you doing?
I'm cutting out some arugula, getting ready to replant. So this was interplanting that worked out really well for me. So when I first got back here, I planted my first generation of Napa cabbage and bok choy in here. And then when they were little, I overseeded it with arugula. So as they grew up, the arugula kind of grew up with them. I cut the Napa, or mostly the bok choy first, and then I cut the Napas just recently. And so now I'm getting ready to plant, and I'm doing something I think is important to the soil. So instead of just pulling this out, right, I'm cutting it off and leaving that in the ground. There's a, you know, relationship with soil life and them root mass, right? So I think that's important. Then I'll go ahead and replant. As this is decaying, there'll be new roots in there, and that relationship still can be going on. Kaisers talk about that a lot. I just wish I had more seedlings ready to go in here, so I'll probably do direct seeding, or maybe some potatoes.
That's something to talk about really quick. Even you're seeing a hard time getting seeds this year, huh?
It's incredible. Fedco's, you know, opening for like 15 minutes every day because they get so many orders they can't fill them. Johnny's is restricting homeowners, and then instead of 3 or 4 day turnaround. They're at 2 weeks. So, you know, I'm a little concerned about getting what I want, but, you know, I'll adjust. You know.
Got you rethinking, maybe seed saving? What's going on?
You know, probably for Maine, you know, for in case it keeps going downhill. But no, just be, you know, I could never save as, you know, the 250 varieties of seeds I grow here. So, you know, I'll just do the best I can and hope, you know, I can get seeds from other sources. But yeah, it's been a great year this year. It's an incredible growth. I don't know if it's because of the cold January or what. You know, my seedlings have been much better, you know, before, and I think that's a lot to do with the compost. I was thinking about that this morning as I was pulling stuff out. You know, if you look at, you know, I was pulling cauliflower 7-pounders yesterday, right? I cut them out, but those leaves were, you know, like, I don't know, 3 foot long. And just think about the nutrient density in those leaves, right? And I immediately put those in the compost pile. So the same thing that's going into people's bodies they're tasting and making the food last longer is going into my compost, which is different than other people's compost because they don't have that nutrient density in the leaves. So even this, you know, this is going right in the compost, you know, really healthy leaves, and it's, you know, and that's just going to be recycled, and that's what I've been using for my seedlings this year. So I think that might have a lot to do with some of what's going on here. And then, you know, my mental state is so much better than it has been in the last 2 years, so I think I'm seeing that here too. It's just exceptional lushness, and everybody that comes here is feeling it, and all my CSA people are saying the flavor is incredible. So it's a good place to be, as busy as I am.
Somebody commented on a video the other day, and this is probably a stupid question, but do any of your clients eat the greens from the broccoli or the cauliflower?
You know, some have over the years, but you know, I usually don't provide that to them. But if they come and ask, I had a buddy from way back when I was doing Sweetwater, he'd bring his juice machine here as I was taking stuff out, and he'd juice it. Neighbor down the street took a bunch of cauliflower leaves after I cut the cauliflower and made some kind of, you know, like juice out of it for making soups.
Okay.
But again, I'm seeing that's a valuable thing to me to have back in that compost pile, so it's not waste. Yeah, I'm seeing different things as I'm clear-headed this year. You know, the idea that, you know, everybody wants the good soil, right? But good soil needs good plants. Without the plants, the soil life can't function, so that has to go together. You know, you can have the most wonderful plants and put them in bad soil. I see that all the time, and they, you know, don't thrive. But you put good plants in good soil, and that whole relationship just bursts. And it's all about the soil life. You know, it's not a chemical experiment here, and that's what we always talk in terms of NPK, pH, you know, all that stuff. You know, all that stuff is incorporated in the soil life's bodies. You know, and that's what holds it in place, and it keeps it in balance. You start throwing, you know, 666 or even manure, you can overdo that. Whereas nature knows how to break things down in a way that it's not out of balance. And I'm seeing that, you know, over the years, both here and in Maine.
So Jim, you've been harvesting some stud heads of broccoli this year, and the question I always get on these broccolis, do you get a second head or just side shoots or what?
You get I'll probably get this was a 3-pound or 3.5 pound head here. It was huge, 10 foot across. But I'll probably get another 3.5 pounds on side shoots on this, probably 3 different cuts. And then they start getting smaller, so then I'll rogue them and get them out of here. But that's much better than the cauliflower because that's a one-cut thing and you get them out.
Is that side shoot new since you cut the head?
No, that one's been hiding under. That doesn't often happen, but this plant was so robust, it was just pushing. That's what's happening all along. Even, you know, the Chinese broccoli, I'm gonna get so many side shoots and they're so much bigger. You know, that's one of my favorite, you know, broccolis. I like that a lot better than these. But the variety here is Arcadia. I really like Arcadia for here because you get big side shoots and big heads. Whereas like everybody's talking Decisio, which is open pollinated, but small heads and small side shoots. And then I'm trying something different this year in my direct sowing. We can look at the radishes, but you know, I noticed, you know, most of the time you make a furrow, right? And I'd put some compost in that and then seed a straight row, right next to each other, and then thin as they, you know, mature. But I noticed any ones that had popped out of the furrow, you know, just because I didn't get it in the furrow, they developed size faster. So what I decided to do was make the furrow a little wider and then do a zigzag planting. And so they're getting more space. and it worked awesome on the radishes. I can show you if you want to look at it, but I did that on, these are turnips. So
that same kind of zigzag?
Yeah, you can kind of see a little zigzag there. You know, so they're spaced apart widthwise instead of just lengthwise. And I think, you know, I don't know why we don't do that more often. But I mean, it's new things when you start, you know, that's how you learn things, because, you know, you see one out of the row and you go, oh, that maybe I should do that, make it happen.
Good morning.
Good morning, Pete.
Oh, and there's brother.
Hey.
He's ready to go fishing.
What? Good morning.
Good morning.
What do you mean? You don't just farm all day?
Nope, I guess I'm taking a day off today.
Really?
Well, I started at 4 outside with the headlights, so.
So you've already got your day in.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, the cut flowers have been really good for me this year. They're just starting to come on because, you know, it's kind of a cool start. But I've been doing, you know, maybe 10, 12 bouquets a week. And I've even got one, somebody didn't come last night for a pick of the garden. So what I've been doing is just leaving the cooler. So Carmen's coming probably at 2 o'clock, and she's gonna get her pick of the garden, which she wanted a bouquet. So that was in there. And she got a nice head of cauliflower, and greens mix, and turnips, and arugula, and starfruit, and beet greens.
Whoa.
So that's some zinnias that grown over at Johnny's house. A lot of the sunflowers. I like the multi-branch one I'm doing. I can't remember where I got the seeds, but I'm saving seeds for that one.
You got some mustards in there?
Yeah, they hold up really well in the vase, so I've been doing that.
Plumbago, I love it. Okay.
Yeah, and they're lasting 2 weeks, so people are really impressed.
Got some more Z-trays coming, okay.
Yeah, got, you know, some of the warm season stuff I've been keeping in here, tulsi and basil and some of the flowers. I mean, it got really warm in here yesterday. It was like a greenhouse. It was probably 85, 90.
Changes in a day down here, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I watched those just perk up. Even, you know, even when it's getting in the 40s, it's, you know, 60 in here. So
Wow.
But and the sugar snap peas are rocking. There's a lot of new crops this year.
So Jim, you just get to walk out your front door and go to work every day?
Yeah.
Kind of living
Yeah.
the dream, huh?
Well, I don't stress about it. So yeah, I am living the dream. So I don't have to. And I think that's important to have presence on the land. You know, I saw that in Lamb Cove when I was trying to, you know, when I moved off that and trying to go back and do it on a part-time basis. It's not the same. You know.
Difference when you're connected to the
Yeah,
land.
no doubt. And I'm connected by my knees, as you can see.
Hey,
You know,
you were
I'm-
like that when I got here.
Yeah. Yeah,
Ooh.
I'm always on the ground. But yeah, this variety of chard called Cherubel, I think I got it from Johnny's. Really vibrant, and you know, it seems to be, yeah, producing better than even bright lights. And
Wow.
it's definitely, so I'm liking that.
Some beautiful chard.
And then I'm doing this year. I've never done that. Celery. So,
Celery? Nice.
yeah, it's looking good. So I think I'm gonna do like a cut and come again. Cindy was doing that for a while, so I'll let them get a little bigger, but then bunch it. You know, so I'll put like, you know, 12 stalks in there. And
Cut
then,
and come again, you called it?
yeah.
Okay.
So that's new. I'm loving that. And then cabbages. I've never been able to grow cabbages. Look at that early Jersey Wakefield. Sorry about it.
Whoa.
I mean, that's a nice, it's a loose head cabbage. It's like a cross between cabbage and lettuce. I grew them in Maine that big, but I've never grown heads like that here. And then the sugar snaps. I mean, it's been a perfect season for them because it was so cold in January.
Are they producing yet?
No, they just started flowering.
okay.
But I did a staggered planting here, so what I did is I put a Cascadia on the front, which is a 3-foot pea, and a little earlier, and then Sugar Snap on the back, which is a 6 to 7-foot pea. So I'm thinking that's what's flowering mostly on this side, but the other ones are starting to flower too. But I plant differently because an old timer in Maine showed me how he planted, and so he fills the furrow with pea seeds. So imagine you make like a 2-inch deep furrow. You just pile them on top of each other. And when I went, I traded scything for him. I scythed around a bunch of his apple trees, and he said, "Well, what can I pay you?" And I said, "I don't want no money." "Well, how about peas?" I said, "Sure." So we picked about a 5-foot section and filled a 5-gallon bucket.
Wow.
And I said, "How do you do this?" And he told me that. So I've done it in Maine really successfully. I think here I tried it, during a warm winter, and the density makes it more prone to some kind of disease. I don't know if it's a fungus or whatever. It didn't work, but this year I think it's going to work. So there could be, you know, like 100 pounds of peas coming off.
So these are the peas you collected here that you planted from your friend?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not variety. It was how he planted it.
Oh, okay.
Because
so those
he
are
was
just for eating.
Yeah, well, yeah. He was doing actually a shell pea,
Okay.
which, you know, they like in Maine. I like the sugar snap where you can eat the pod.
So this ate a lot of peas.
There's
Yeah.
a pound of peas on whatever.
1 pound?
1
Okay.
pound of peas, yeah.
Not as
On
much
one
as I thought.
side, and then probably a half pound on the other side.
Wow.
So, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, I mean, that'll be a good addition to the CSA. And then I'm trying leeks.
Leeks again, really?
Yeah, so, you know, I don't know if there's a market. So what I did is I planted them like I do my scallions, where I put, you know, like 10 or 12 seeds in an 1.5-inch block. And then what I'm going to do is, let me show you. So normally what they do is they'd mound this up with dirt because you want to blanch this so you get more white. What I've heard, I looked up how Elliot Coleman does it. What he'll do is he'll take this plant, and I don't know, I'm just going to follow what he does. I'm hoping to do this next week. Cut most of the roots off, and then about this much of the tops, and then make a hole this deep, and put the whole thing in. And you'll have whites this big.
Really?
We'll see. I'm going to try it. Elliot hasn't ever failed me.
Okay.
So
2 videos from now, we'll see the result.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I you know, there's like 500 here.
Wow.
So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the biggest ones because they're going to take up space and time, and then I don't know if I can sell them. You know, I talked to Victor at Zen Forest. Well, I'll do a special or whatever, but if, you know, it's only 50 leeks, it ain't going to take 500. But anyway, that's having fun. So I'm still experimenting a lot.
All right, Jim, what are you working with here?
Well, you know, I've been doing Salanova for years, and I'm learning that if I cut them early and leave, so I probably cut that one yesterday, right? And what they do is they start to branch out on the sides like that. So if I let this go another week, I'm going to get another cutting off it. It seems like these work too. So this is the crisp red, I think, whatever it is, and so I'll get multiple cuts off this, and that goes in my greens mix instead of just the one-time cut where you might get $3 for that head. I don't know what people sell them for, but it's hard to sell head lettuce for me. But you know, I picked out of this garden last week 140 bags of lettuce, you know, at $5 a pop. And if I can continue to do that as a new crop comes on, I can still get a little bit out of this crop. It's really making a difference in the volume I can do. Yeah, they're gorgeous. I love that chartreuse one, and then yeah, they're all doing really well in the soil over here.
Planting
too.
a rainbow. I love it.
And the other thing I've noticed, this year is the first year I've been able to keep on top of the lettuce, because usually about this time they're just bursting so full and lush that I can't keep up with them. But because I've got the demand, I'm going around when I go through here, I'm taking all the outside leaves of every plant, and then 2 days later I can do it again, and 2 days later I can do it again. And so that's allowing me to, you know, get that 150 bags a week. And that, well, this next crop comes on, which will be ready in 2 weeks.
Coming along quick, isn't it?
Yeah, the season's progressing.
So we officially have the whole place planted out now?
Almost.
Almost.
There's a little corner I'm going to do with flowers.
Smidgen over there?
Yeah, but
Okay.
but I'm already replanting. You know,
Oh.
so that's something I often didn't do because I wasn't, you know,
Timing-wise?
I just didn't spend the time. But yeah, here's the staggered row radishes. So see how they're kind of spaced out? It's not like a perfect, but they're spaced out across that 3-inch spot. So they're all sizing up better than usually. They'll squeeze, I'll take the big ones and then wait for the next ones to come, but I'll be able to get most of these all at once. You know, and it was only staggered, you know, within that space. And I'm still doing the carrots with the, you know, 1-inch spacing, and they're coming out all right. You know, good germination now, and not losing them to pill bugs like I did in that first planting.
Yeah.
And I'm still loving the interplanting with so that's Chinese broccoli that's just starting to get the first cut head, which will make it branch, but the huckara, or the snow apples, are underneath, and I'll be pulling those. You know, they're sized up really good. You know, so I'll be pulling those, you know, probably Friday. You know, I'll put 3 in a bunch and, you know, get $3 for it in the pick of the garden. So that's a really good way of using space. Kohlrabies work really well too. So if you see, there's kohlrabies tucked in on this other side. So they'll size up even with the shade there. And then I started also using baby bok choy in the same situation because they're 30 days. So I already harvested those in between those other bok choy. So I'm really making use of the fertility in the soil because it's so fertile. It's so wonderful to be able to, harvest out of it. Well, I pulled out that Dirt Buddy a couple months ago and was using that for that front flower bed because I didn't want to buy, compost from anybody. It's worked out all right out there, and so I decided, when I top it for my first planting of the year here, I put like an inch on top of everything. It's so much more attractive. I mean, look at the difference between that. It's kind of a finish effect, and that's not much worse, but it's definitely more chunky. I did rake the chunkiest stuff off to make the pass, but and I'm not seeing any ill effects. Oftentimes I worried about it having hydrophobic effect, like peat moss will get it once it dries out, but it's holding moisture really well. And the nutrients are really, in the soil life, are down in that, under layer of soil. So this is just a pretty mulch. I think I'll still do, because it's labor intensive, so I'll probably still do the unsifted compost for my spring cover before I do the sweet potatoes.
Or maybe just adding it with the starts when you put it in from now on, or?
This stuff?
Yeah, the sifted.
No,
One-time deal?
I think it's just as good as the other stuff. It's just not as attractive. I think it actually is probably not as good because there's not as much diversity in the profile of the compost. But for working with, it's much easier to walk on a path that's like that instead of the one with the chunky debris for mom. So I think I'll just do all my my fall plantings, the first planting in any of these beds using the Dirt Buddy stuff, and then I get the the chunky stuff to do that guerrilla gardening in the back. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I've watched the difference though, because I got a really dark load out front for that first flower bed I did, and the second one was a little lighter, a little fluffier, and the plants are responding totally differently. It's amazing. That you can see that, and you can film that if you want. But
Was this watered this morning?
no, it was watered last night.
That's all the moisture. Wow.
Yeah, because these have been they've got planted last Thursday, so they haven't even been in a week, and they're almost. If I was in a hurry and needing more stuff, I could take outside leaves already
In less than a week.
in less than a week, because they stayed in the soil blocks quite a long time. But no transplant shock. So right as you were coming, I was finishing cutting the arugula out of here, like I was at that first bed we were talking about, and this was planted unmulched. So I got back and I wanted to get a quick crop in, so I sowed right on the stuff after the sweet potatoes came up. I saw the tag. It was October 16th. And I got 4 cuts out of here, and 60 or 30 bags each cut. So that's like $250. And then I left the soil profile with the big roots. I can't even probably find one here. Yeah, look. So I left this in the ground. So that's a cover crop, right? That's what Kaiser's always talk about. Every crop is an economic crop, and every economic crop is a cover crop. So I got $250 worth of money out of that, plus I put that much in the soil. People say you're always robbing, but the thing is, plants are synthesizing with sunlight and water and soil life to make stuff. So I'm actually adding as well as taking away, and then most of this went to a compost pile that will also, the last cut will also go into my soil block next year. So, I'm not totally robbing the soil, and there's so much nutrients because I'm putting 4 inches of compost on every year too.
Wow.
So that's why I think it continues to get better and better every year.
Growing money out here, Jim.
Yep. Oh, and I'm doing Daikons too. That's a new one.
That's a new one for you, really?
I never could sell them, but now with Pick of the Garden, I can just throw one in Pick of the Garden, and we'll see. I did this bed like 6 or 8 years ago before Justin filmed it, and I had some roots that were that long and that big around.
Wow.
They were crazy, and the little tops, just like that. I don't know. We can go look at those. These are getting a little bigger, but so they're just starting to form the the root down there. I know. Oh yeah. But these have probably only been in maybe 3 weeks, and they should be done in 6 weeks.
Wow.
So that's another. So that is already. I think, what did I harvest out of here already? I think radishes and carrots and beets. and more radishes. The arugula I already cut, so I'm really, you know, pulsing through with succession here often, which is awesome.
All right, Jim, so we're going to talk about what everybody likes to hear, and that's kind of, you know, about what you're making on a weekly basis. And I know you're a simple man. You don't need to make a lot of money, and you know, you're breaking numbers now.
Yeah, it's record again this week, which was pretty incredible. Just finished. It was broke $2,000 for a week.
What are you going to do with all this money?
You know, I bought an apple press. Got it delivered to Maine. You know, but more importantly is that's like a gauge of how much food came out of this garden and how many people I'm feeding. You know, that's pretty incredible, and that's a good basis for other people to start feeding people within the community in an urban setting. You know, it doesn't have to be towers and hydroponics. This is using people's yard waste, you know, my neighbor's yard waste, and then growing that much food.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. So $2,000 last week. You told me in the last video.
Yeah, because I'd never made more than $1,700, so that was a lot.
65 hours with planting, harvesting, market, the whole 9 yards.
No, it's probably 70 last week.
Probably 70? Okay.
Yeah.
But it's not quite work when you love what you're doing, right?
No, and you know, I do get a lot of feedback that's, you know, pretty soul inspiring. You know, that, you know, I had an herbalist that came, you know, it's just magic coming to this garden. And that pick of the garden thing where they're picking up here is awesome too, because they just see where it's coming from, and it's a good feedback loop for me and them.
That's awesome.
Feedback, literally.
All right, Jim, next time we're going to come to the market.
Oh, cool.
We're due for what, rights this time?
Yeah.
All right, new market for these guys.
Yep.
All right, thank you. All right, guys, so you heard Jim making a living farming in his front yard, living the dream in my opinion. So my next video with Jim will probably be at the market, and then I have a video I'm coming back to basically ask him some more questions and get some more content for our masterclass. So we've had a masterclass with Jim now for about 3 years, and probably put another 100 hours into it this last year. I'm going to put some more hours into it this next year, and continuously every year always adding to it, more content for Florida, more content for Maine, because Jim is a nomadic farmer, farming half the year down here and half the year up there. So stay tuned. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, maybe you can please go ahead and do so. Most importantly, we pound dirt around here.